gays messaging me, asking me to punch them for $1,000, that kind of stuff. So
And going to destroy, absolutely destroy everybody there, I think.
Just get out of here, man. If you're really complaining about that, then don't even bother.
What's going on? Oh yeah, carry on.
No, yeah, Mike, please carry on about Derek.
and Joseph is 70 kilos, so that's my weight class, so I gotta watch out for him.
Awesome.
Both of these pullers, yeah.
Shots fired. You listening, Dexter?
Let's just say exercise for arm wrestling, or the top 3 exercises, what would be for you?
Currently, the kind of training that I do for competition prep is very much based off of...
I still want you, Derek. I still want you.
Hello guys, welcome back to the podcast. Today we have a bunch of guys here, very big and very good ones. We have, of course, the recent arrived East vs West star, racing star Valen Low, also Greg Yeo. Did I say it right, Greg? Yeo?
Perfect. You're like a native.
And also my good fella Michael Ford. So guys, how you doing? Welcome to the show.
All good, all good.
Fantastic, man.
Oh, yeah.
Feeling amazing. Thanks for having us on, man.
It's my pleasure.
Thanks, Daniel.
It's my pleasure. I've been very curious about having a nice conversation with all of you guys for several reasons, because obviously we're going to discuss nice and easy about arm wrestling, but well, I do have a lot of curious, not only about both of you guys. I mean, I know Mike a little bit from training here in the UK and so on, but especially for, well guys, your story, your background and everything that you're doing. Greg, your YouTube channel, by the way guys, I'm going to leave tons of links in the description, including, well, the Wikipedia fan page, let's just say, of Valen, the website of, actually, let's just do it now, because, well, this is very well known by everyone, absolutely. So, but here my friend Greg has a very nice website about, well, the East Side Arm Wrestling. So guys, just go into the internet, link below in the description, and it's actually this one. Right, so this is the website of the gentleman, guys. So you can do coaching, you can contact the guys. Unbelievable guys, really, like the amount of years of experience that these guys have and everything that they are, I mean, training programs, consultation, or coaches, for example. Because I mean, Greg, if you don't know guys, is not only just obviously an influencer, a YouTuber, he is a coach as well, and a competitor, 100%. So very interesting background and profiles here to discuss. And let me see if I am able to stop this. There we go, back to normal life. So really guys, just to start the podcast, more or less a quick round of introductions. Not much really needed, but it's also very good. So if anyone is tuning up and doesn't have a clue of who these gentlemen are, let me just start very quickly and do a summary. So first, why not, for the main guy and the host, Michael Ford as well, a wrestler, competitor. He won the 2025 Arnold Classic here, a couple of in Idaho, if I'm not wrong. Ohio.
First of, in Ohio, yeah.
Ohio, yeah.
Columbus, Ohio.
So very well, and let's just say famous and recognized, especially for having pulled the schoolboy last year. Good match, yeah. Dude, it reached 1 million views on YouTube, man. That's not very bad at all, so you should be proud of that. Absolutely.
I tried my best. I knew what I was getting into. I knew there was gonna be a lot of views.
It's funny.
But thanks to Valen, Greg, and Jonathan Chioc for setting that up. It was the best thing that ever happened to me in my arm wrestling career. The best thing.
The best is just to come, Mike. This is only the beginning for you, brother. We'll make sure for that. Also, we have as well Greg Yeo. I mean, you guys, you know him, the YouTuber, the coach, the influencer. You got him there. Guys, just check everything. And the racing star as mentioned before, Valen Low, just recently arrived from the East vs West 17. Amazing match against Hunter Noffz. And I tell you this, man, you've done way better than many people was expecting. So well done and congratulations, sir.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it was surprising.
What was surprising about it?
That I took his risk at some positions.
No,
Because I think he was thinking it's going to be 3-0, right? I think most people thought it's
3-0
3-0.
3-0 in 3 seconds.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I tell you, I was classifying Hunter as favorite for the match, but I wasn't expecting a 3-3 roll because I was very curious, you know. I mean, you obviously you do a little bit of research of the athletes and about yourself. I mean, there's a lot of information about you in that Wikipedia page, which shows your level. Plus, you are very smart, so not something very easy. And well, in the end, dude, you literally forced several times Hunter to do fouls. Like he was stronger in the end. He got the match, yes, but you did a very, very good job, man. So really well done.
Thank you. It's a fight to the end.
Yeah.
Fight to the end.
And overall, dude, this is the first time, well, for you to pulling at the EvsW, the highest organization, the most famous organization in the world of arm wrestling. No question about it. How it feels just going there for first time and meeting all the athletes and all the experience, man. Tell us a little bit about it, please.
No, I mean, in Dallas, it was a great experience to be invited. First time, Southeast Asian, Chinese descent athlete being over at East versus West, representing the Southeast Asia region and Singapore itself. So it's a great honor, and meeting the different world level, high level athletes made me realize what I need to improve on, the strengths and my weaknesses. And from there, it's only upwards.
Awesome, buddy. What about you, Greg? Because you've been there also helping with translating. I saw you, especially with Yoshi.
Yeah. Maybe I should have done some translating for Valen also, right? Maybe we just pretend he doesn't know English. That could have been something fun to do. But actually, no. I was going there actually just to be Valen's corner man, because he's just going there alone.
Yep.
And actually on the day that we arrived, I arrived at like 6 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And then check-in at the airport at the hotel is about 3 p.m. right?
Yeah.
So I was just waiting around for a couple of hours, many long hours, and finally when I checked into the hotel, I got into my room. It was about 3:30, almost 4 p.m. And then I get a ton of messages from Valen. He's asking me to come down right now. Come down to the room. The organizers need to talk to you. And I went down. I don't know why. But then it turns out that Yoshinobu Kanai, he's there and nobody knows how to talk to him. So I was the only guy there that knew a little bit of Japanese, and that's how it ended up happening.
Wow,
yeah.
Man. Wow. That's
so it was Valen who forced me to do it in a way. I just wanted to watch the show, but it turned out to be a great experience.
Abusing Greg's ability, yeah.
Yeah. I was going to be all the way at the back, I got the cheapest seats. I was going to be all the way at the back, but they gave me the best seats is on the stage. So I couldn't have asked for anything better.
Something similar happened to me back in November 2023, I think it was. The EvsW 10 with Rosa Costa. Something similar. Yeah, it was a cool experience. And it ended up in her corner. Amazing experience. I tell you. I told this many times to several of my friends, like there's a version of me before that event and after that event. Really, it was like incredible experience. I mean, I had the whole package, like the whole.
Yeah, you were a VIP a few times, right?
Yeah, 2 times.
Yeah,
2 times. But obviously,
even this is a little bit different from just being VIP. Yeah, you see a little bit different things. Get to interact with the athletes a different way.
Absolutely.
I understand what you mean. Yeah.
And especially when you are not, because something is like when you go there and you have more or less everything on your mindset, you know what you do, what you expect and everything. And I was just going there like just a fun more guy there, enjoying, supporting whatsoever. And then obviously these situations happen and I ended up doing everything, translating and in her corner because Rosa wanted me to be in her corner and everything. So which obviously was like not expected at all, something completely outside of my comfort area. It's like, okay, this person needs my help to be the guy that she needs me to be, and that's it. And yeah, it was not sure if you guys will catch the reference, but there is a very famous cartoon I think called Rick and Morty, And there's a meme of one of the characters walking, completely traumatized with some sort of PTSD, observing the world, not
Yeah.
feeling what happened. So that was me after the East vs West 10. completely off the record, buddy. But anyway, Mike, buddy, thank you again for coming, for helping us to organize this. And dude, you won recently as well the annual classic, and I got to ask you, my friend, what was your expectation on Valen's performance and how you saw everything?
I knew Valen was going to do well. I knew he was going to give a good fight. Obviously, not just being biased because he's my friend, but obviously I've known Valen's past accomplishments, in China, Japan, etc.
Yeah.
So I think for maybe the Western side of the world, obviously wouldn't be so familiar with Valen, and rightly so. It's Southeast Asian arm wrestling is, Greg's doing a good job at trying to promote it, but it's still relatively unknown. So I don't blame people for doubting Valen, to be honest. It is what it is, and obviously America has a lot of a larger following. So I knew Valen was going to do well, and I'm glad he did bloody good. And I was telling Valen, and Greg, we have a small group chat, and he may have lost the match, but he definitely won a lot of hearts. So,
Yeah.
So for him to crack Hunter's wrist, and Hunter's like a crazy hooker, it was very impressive. When his wrist went crack backwards, it was very impressive. Very impressive. I was shouting in my bar office, yeah, at the top of my lungs. Yeah.
That's good.
Very proud. Very proud.
Do you really guys consider that after this event and after the performance you've done, this is obviously a great outcome for Southeast European panorama?
100%. 100%.
Southeast, not European. I lost the plot. Sorry, Southeast Asia. I know.
Yeah. It's a big win. Even though it's a loss, it's a big win. Just to be on that stage, and I think it was good timing with John and Yoshi. So I think between the three of us here, Greg, Valen, myself, we all played a role recently in really bringing up Southeast Asian arm wrestling. So fantastic. It's been a lot in the last 2 months, but it's been good. So yeah.
So just to point out a little bit on the map, a little bit. So we're talking about countries like, for example, obviously Singapore, Malaysia, where you're from, Mike. Also, we could include Philippines, like that part of the world. So obviously, I'm very curious on finding out with you guys what's the situation there, how's the sport growing, and especially in the last couple, let's just say 1 year, 2 years, and especially now, your performance, Valen, how you are perceiving the panorama and the situation of the sport growing up there. Because I see you guys, you have tons of followers, especially you, Mike. I've been looking at you a lot in TikTok, and you have a lot of followers as well. So very curious, honestly, to see how the things are evolving there. What you have to say about it.
Greg, do you want to go first?
Oh, yes, please. Why not?
Yeah, sure. With regards to like the Southeast Asian scene, I think definitely over the past 2 to 3 years, it has really, exploded in terms of growth of new arm wrestlers and getting more arm wrestlers within the region to, connect together. Couple of different things happened. One of the big things was UAC, which is Ultimate Arm Wrestling Championship. That was started in Singapore with Valen and a partner of his named Jonathan. So that was the first really big promotion that was trying to make it like a professional kind of thing in the region. So We had Mike come over. We had guys over from Australia, guys from Taiwan, all over the region coming over to compete. I think they were on the right track with the production wise. It's just that at that time, 2 years back, I don't think there was enough like financial support. There wasn't a big enough audience yet at that time to support such a high level promotion, which is why it sort of fizzled out a little bit. But it wasn't for nothing, obviously. Part of that allowed Mike and Valen to propel themselves to the wider audience in the West, which allowed them to have these opportunities. Arnold Classic, East versus West.
Yeah.
So I won't say it was all for nothing. I think UAC, it was a very pivotal moment. Of course, last year as well, I think there was the East versus West qualifiers, Southeast Asian qualifiers, which Mike Ford won in the overall category. He went over to Turkey to compete as well. He beat like pretty legit guys. Like one of them I remember was Dylan Williamson, I think that's his last name, which is like a very legit like heavyweight, super heavyweight guy over in the US. All these little things, I think they added up to really boost the level of recognition of arm wrestling from Southeast Asia. And then, of course, within the region itself, we have really big followings on TikTok for guys like you mentioned Philippines earlier. We have Sean Chispa over there, a very big name over there, hundreds of thousands of followers. Over in Thailand, there are two guys, Josh Nicholas, Guy Thanapat, also hundreds of thousands of followers over there. So very much so growing on the social media end as well.
Amazing, really. What about your views, let's just say, Valen, about this? Because, well, after you've been, and you are a superstar, this is West level, buddy, regardless of the result, you are there 100%. How that level of, let's just say, fame or achievement has impacted you in that way? Is people now, even though it's like very recently, getting to you, reaching to you more, recognizing you more fame? Tell me a little bit about it. I'm very curious, honestly.
I mean, of course, there's like more followers. There's like almost 100 within a day, that kind on TikTok and Instagram. And then the funny thing, I think Greg knows, there's gays messaging me, asking me to punch them for $1,000, that kind of stuff. So yeah, just this is one of the another funny things that can happen when you're famous, more famous. And then of course, going back to the Southeast Asian arm wrestling scene.
Why those offers don't come to me?
I don't know, man. Yeah, so you never know what kind of opportunities will actually come about. Especially not only this sort of opportunities, like it's a part of a portfolio in the future and as a part of your arm wrestling resume. Like going on East versus West, going to competitions in Arnold Classic, going in competitions around the region. Man, you never know, Nike will ask you for a commercial shoot for a 6-figure contract. We never know.
We have to see, buddy. As far as I can see, the world of arm wrestling right now, it's not a secret, and a very fair comparison. We are in the early days of the UFC. That's how I see it. Maybe in 10 years or wherever, or maybe less. Who knows?
Yeah, which is why
wrestling is gonna explode.
Why Robert and Dexter, who is on East versus West, having super strong business backgrounds and owning multiple businesses to help propel East versus West in the business front end. So that's the very important key point that we have, as both of them are strong pillars and spearheads of East versus West itself. Yeah. But coming back to the Southeast Asian scene, I think the past 2-3 years, a lot of new arm wrestlers, a lot of new pullers. In terms of like the level, practically all the top guys are more or less secured, the top guys.
Yeah.
But we need these top guys to actually go further to further competitions out of the region, whether it's like in East Asia, Japan, and then Central Asia, Kazakhstan, Europe, and the North America states to expand themselves. That's the only way that Southeast Asia can grow. So it's either that or we bring the promotion over here. So two ways.
Well, that sounds very promising, dude. 100%.
Yeah, so I think, yeah, we that's why I always tell the pullers to try to compete overseas, gain as much experience as you can, learn, and then from there you grow and just compete as much as possible within your circumstances.
Let's, if you don't mind, gentlemen, let's talk a little bit the main event that we have, the EvsW 17. Before I start with the serious and difficult questions for all of you guys, you're all going to have a sweat, I promise you. Anyway, jokes aside, really, Mike, my friend, first question for you. From all the matches of the card, of course, what were your favorite matches?
Obviously, Valen was the one I paid all the money for Valen, pretty much. That was the one I was looking forward to. My biggest shocker was Matt Mask and Ongarbaev.
Yeah,
I did not expect Matt to tear through Ongarbaev so easily. I know Ongarbaev's not been active in the scene lately, but wow, yeah, that was a good one. But I think best match in terms of spectator was probably Cody Wood and Joseph Meranto. That was a war. That was good. That was good.
Beautiful match. Beautiful match.
Yeah. Hook war, back and forth, elbow fouls, early starts, strap. It was it was good. It was good. It was good.
100% agree, buddy. You guys, join. What are your thoughts, guys?
I think on site, my favorite match would be the Cody Wood and Joseph Meranto match. Cody was like leading 2-0, and then like Joseph was able to sink in that hook, and yeah, just got 3 wins from there. And Cody couldn't counter that hook. And Joseph is 70 kilos, so that's my weight class, so I gotta watch out for him. both of these pullers, yeah.
Shots fired. You listening, Dexter? Again.
Yeah.
But hey, it's cool that you guys brought up like the Cody Wood and Joseph Meranto matches. I just wanted to note, I just realized that all 3 of the lightweight matches, the Cody one, Valen one, and Mindaugas one, all of those ended in 3-2. All of those very, very close. So I really like having more of these lightweight matches on East versus West card. I think these are where some of the best matches can be. On a technical level, it's at a higher level. In fact, before this competition, I thought it was going to be Cody Wood easily 3-0 and Mindaugas easily 3-0, and I was very, very proven wrong by the result of this. And most people thought it was going to be Valen 3-0 losing to Hunter as well. And then we get all these surprises. Very, very amazing result. But of course, maybe I'm biased, but I also really like the John Brzenk and Yoshi Kanai one, just because I was in the corner. I really got to feel the energy on the stage, getting to interact with Yoshi in between the rounds and talk to him behind the scenes. All these little things, I think, Daniel, also you having this experience yourself, it really adds to the experience. It helps you to bond with the person. It gives you a whole different perspective on the game. Really allows you to appreciate arm wrestling on a different level than compared to if you were just in the audience or even just at home watching. So yeah, very, very eye-opening experience for me.
Yeah. Quick response to that in 2 parts, let's just say. So first about the match of Cody and Meranto. Absolutely beautiful display and everything. And also you can not just see the arm wrestling, but more or less figure out what is going through the minds of the athletes on that moment. And I really, really like how Meranto was able to not to panic, not at all, be calm, be analytic, and do what he had to do. It was impressive. And the same as well with do the battle of minds, you know, the Jedi and Moriarty, or Parasites, however you want to call them, you know, Janis Mollins and I mean that was Parasites. Dude, that was incredible. when when Mindaugas was going into the press and finding out that I'm not going here, lifting the elbow, doing the technical foul, and then restarted all the battle there, it was amazing, dude. It was very, very good matches. Absolutely, absolutely. And it's totally fine. And I totally got you, man. What you said, I've been being biased for that experience. I had exactly the same. I mean, everything. I spent a lot of hours with Rosa during that weekend, and also with Frank. I wasn't in the corner of Frank, but I was helping him a lot as well with translation and so on. And especially with Frank, because we met in the hall, and of course I saw him, and hey, was talking. Oh, are you Italian as well? No, I'm Spanish. Blah 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 blah. We became friends. We go with Urchi somewhere to eat. We spend a lot of time and talking. And you know, like we were in one of the restaurants there in Pendik, very close to the hotel, like 15-20 minutes walk. And we were like, well, how you see yourself, you know, how you feeling? And we were diving. I was diving a little bit into Frank's mindset and he was very hesitant about himself and everything. So you can imagine, right? Like you are invested, absolutely invested 100% in two guys. You're literally met, right? Rosa with anything that she needed for translating because literally zero English at all, and she was preferring talking more Spanish than German. And then with Frank, similar more or less. And then being in the corner of Rosa, performing as coach, whatever you want to call it, being my job. Fine, done. And then seeing Frank when I was sitting there in the raw, I remember all that we talk, all the hours and everything, and then see him having such amazing performance. Dude, it was, I tell you, and myself before the event and after the event, two different guys, I tell you, 100%.
Totally. When you're invested in someone like that, it's a completely different feeling.
And this is the good point, right? Something very different when you are pulling in a national championship or something like an Arnold's, but when you are there at the biggest stage, because you've been there as well, Mike. I mean, you will say the best obviously was against a schoolboy. How were the nerves affecting there? Let's say going on the stage in front of so many people and the cameras. Did you guys, both of you, Mike and Valen, did you feel affected? Did you feel the social pressure there or anything?
In regards to the schoolboy match, yeah. I mean, I've not had many. I mean, in terms of what I'm trying to say is, I knew the social impact it was going to have afterwards. Maybe not at the time because it was being recorded. So maybe during the match, I didn't feel as nervous. But once it was done and okay, it's gonna come out soon. Then because I knew it was the first time my name was gonna be put out there.
Yeah.
So I was quite nervous with what people were gonna be saying, but I took it well on the chin. I knew I was gonna get a lot of stick, from people and whatnot. So I was okay. But after that, I learned how to deal with nerves quite easily. So. I've been okay ever since. Yeah, I brought the same. I was okay at Arnold's. I was cool, calm-headed, level-headed. So, yeah.
You, Valen?
Yeah, I think leading up to the Hunter match, the preparation was good, but like every single competition, there's a little bit of nerves that I have, like whether it's a big or small competition, because I expect myself to do well, regardless of competition. And then going into the event, there wasn't too much nervousness, because Greg was there, and then I felt confident as well. I could actually do something to Hunter and even get some wins. So overall experience, not too nervous because preparation. The important thing is the preparation that's leading up to the competition and how you handle this kind of visualization and more of a mindset towards that feeling.
Which which touches a very important topic, guys. I want to ask you, all of you, really. It's a little bit of a training and preparation prior to either competitions or super matches. I would really like to know a little bit about your thoughts, because obviously training is a very, very good topic to always discuss. I'm very curious to see the insights of the athletes and the guys. How do they approach training? Because, for example, you have them. I think recently we could use as a very, very good and first example of the training methodology that has been, well, it's not new, but you know, Coach Ray with the Arm Wrestling Odyssey has been publishing some videos, and we were discussing about Mindaugas training methodology, even diet and so on. So it's really, I would like to see, for example, how do you guys like to train? How do you approach the things going on for a competition or to a big event, such, for example, a super match? So shots fire. And Greg, why not? Are you happy to start, my friend?
Yeah, sure. So just to give a little bit of background about myself, other than just making social media content, I've also been competing since 2016. Not really as long as Mike and Valen. I think they've been competing for like over 10 years, well over 10 years by now. I'm a little bit more newer to the competition game, but I don't have a strength background as well. I've never done like things like powerlifting, weightlifting, but I'm always very I take a very methodical approach, is what I'm trying to say, to my training. And this was done through a lot of experimentation over the years. Currently, the kind of training that I do for competition prep is very much based off of a traditional powerlifting type of approach. Very basic, linear, almost linear kind of progression. And I have blocks of, you know, hypertrophy phase, strength phase, peaking phase. And then the actual exercises, I split them into different vectors of arm wrestling movements. So instead of, you know, traditional powerlifting, we have, you know, like a push pull day kind of thing. Mine would be, you know, cupping day, pronation day, something like that. So I split it in terms of different arm wrestling movements. And also sometimes I have an extra day for general muscle building, more general kind of movements like bench press and things like that. I think this is something that has worked well for me. Online, you find a lot of different kind of training styles from a lot of different like pro athletes. You know, you have the Bulgarians, you have the Latvians, Russians. All of them seem to have their own different way of training. And somehow, you know, all these different styles still produce champions, right? But I think because I also coach people for arm wrestling as well, I don't like people to learn from these elite genetic freaks, you know? Yeah. I don't think that learning from only the best of the best can yield the best results for the average person. The average person is not going to survive the 2 times a day Bulgarian training, 3 times a day kind of thing. The average person is not on a ton of PEDs. The average person, you know, they don't have that kind of time set out in that day to do 3 hours of training. You know, most people, maybe they have an hour and a half max. So because I have a job myself, I feel like I'm an average person myself. I'm not like crazily genetically gifted. My type of training is more suited towards the average Joe, the average person, something that could work for most people. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know, Mike or Valen, do you have any, like, is your approaches like different from mine?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so my training right now, especially for the East versus West, it was because I competed in the Philippines Arm Wrestling Championships. There was a super match after in 2024, I think it was October. Mm-hmm. So I had almost a 16-week prep towards this East versus West, because I knew I was going to get caught up, just that I don't know what weight class and I don't know who is it. And the nowadays training is based a lot on very specific, after being like 15 years in the sport, it's just very specific pulley systems on the table itself with cables. A lot of it is with cables, specific angles, 3 to 4 times a week of that. And then I'll try to include 1 time a week specific prep on the arm wrestling table sparring itself. And another 2 to 3 times of general gym work just to maintain a little bit of muscle mass. Yeah. So as like Greg said, for me, this preparation is still a little bit linear, but because being more advanced, right? It becomes non-linear in the sense that every microcycle, let's just say every 1 to 4 weeks, I can't just do a linear progression because I would just digress that way. That means I just can't go like this. I have to go like this, and then here, and then here, and then here. So on some weeks, I have to take even like a step back to advance on the next, like on week 3 or week 4. Which is what many very high level athletes cannot handle, because you're lowering the intensity a little bit. You realize you play mind games with yourself, like, hey, I'm not like doing heavier than last week or 2 weeks back. Am I like regressing? So that's what like super elite athletes will think to themselves if they are not training enough, or they're not training even heavy enough. Yeah, so imagine like Mike Ford is doing on let's say wrist range 100 kilos, and then let's just say he has a coach that says, okay, next week you do 90 kilos for the same number of reps. So if he doesn't understand, if Mike Ford don't understand what's the reason behind that, he might think like, or feel like he's regressing, he's becoming weaker. But we all know like strength don't regress in 1 week. It takes many weeks, even 12, 16, 20 weeks to grow and strength, and actually, I think like Devon has said, like to peak into that competition, to be the strongest form at that competition. That's for like the elite level athletes themselves. So it's very psychological as well. And it really depends on the genetic ability and the person's circumstances, whether they're able to recover from the workouts and the amount of pressure the joints and tendons can take. So like someone like Todd Hutchins, you can't implement his program to every single one. Everyone will snap their elbow and break their humerus. Yeah. So that's for like the high level. And then I do some coaching as well, and I'm a personal trainer. Yeah. My day job is a personal trainer, and I realized like the general population just can't handle like elite level training. You have to have some sort of genetics, and you have to be a little bit crazy to dedicate your life and time like to the sole purpose of arm wrestling, like high level arm wrestling. So for most people, a basic program will actually work. Like whatever you do, there's some sort of structure to it, and you can actually follow, you'll make progress on that. Yeah,
100%, right? We can say that obviously the training program needs to adapt to the athlete, not the athlete to the training program. Correct?
Definitely. You just can't like copy paste every single program and just give it to anyone. Yeah, of course, if you give it to a genetic freak, you give it to, let's say, Sasho, he will do well on every single program. But when you give it to someone who don't have good genetics, then that's where you see your coaching ability, whether it stands out or you actually suck.
Yeah, and also limited to the personal circumstances of the persons. You know, for example, someone like me, I know that there are some exercises that compress the spine that are no good for me. So yeah, really depends on the person and the circumstances, 100%.
Yeah, and the lifestyle as well. Imagine someone in I always like to use this quote: someone in finance working at JP Morgan who wants to compete in arm wrestling, working 16 hours. How are you going to program arm wrestling for him? 16 hours, and then he's going to train. Next day, he's getting like fucked by his boss. Why not hitting sales? So it's very different from someone who is waking up in Kazakhstan, 12 hours of sleep, eating horse meat, and training. Very different circumstances.
Very well said. What about you, Mike? You've been observing in the shadows.
Yeah, my training programs, to be honest, is very boring. It's very simple. I'm like Greg in a way, very methodical. I like to break down the movement and focus on the very simple movements. Again, like Greg, which also Valen coached me for a while as well. So go through the volume phase, the strength phase, the peaking phase, and yeah. So to be honest, it's a lot of for my style of training. The way I pull is a lot of back pressure, a lot of side pressure. It's if your hand fails, a bit like Tonachins, just go straight to the side. Try and go as fast to the side as possible. I like to think for quite a large guy, I can move quite quick off the go. So that's just how I do my training. Very boring. A lot of back pressure, a lot of rising, a lot of side. So I luckily have the weight behind me, where I'm able to apply that weight to the side. So in some respects, I've been a little naughty in not trying to be more technical, and just relying on pure power. I come from a strength background from young. I started playing rugby when I was 10 years old. And I was in the gym by 13. I did powerlifting for a while. So I'm always come from a high impact sport. And I brought the same training and mindset into arm wrestling. So yeah, that's my I agree with everything that Valen and Greg says, and I take a bit from both and piece it together for what works for me personally.
Yeah, guys, as mentioned before, and as so in the website, you have the profiles of these guys with information of both of them, Valen and Greg, as personal coaches, guys. So really have a look into the website, see what's everything going on and what these guys can offer to you if you want to learn and improve something, guys. So really, before just to finish like this blog about training and so on, and get start a little bit into the sauce. Well, we see the world of internet, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, everything absolutely crowd of different tons of exercises for arm wrestling. Do this to become strong, do that. And obviously, we can say that the favorite or the most famous exercise is the pronation lift of Devon Larratt, or as well, very seriously criticized, the exercise or the version of Michael Dodd was doing as well. So guys, really, for you, if you have to say what is the best, let's say, exercise for arm wrestling, or the top 3 exercises, what would be for you? Let's say, okay, I'm gonna drop the coin to Mike. Why not? You start, my friend.
For me, number 1 for me personally is this pressure. Purely because on the go, if you are very strong here, even if you lose your wrist, it's potential. You can always pull and hold. So this pressure for me, this way, is number 1, especially in the static. For me, I feel as long as I'm strong here, I can move this way, regardless if my hand is like this or like this. Number two would be side pressure. And number 3 would be cupping for me. Cupping pronation. Yeah, cupping.
You, Greg?
Oh.
Yeah. So yeah, this is a very, very interesting question. I think it's something that a lot of, especially the newer arm wrestlers, they're interested in, right? Because they always ask, what's the best exercise for arm wrestling? It's probably one of the most asked questions that I get all across my social media pages, and I often hesitate to answer this question too authoritatively, because it probably is going to be a little bit different for each person. But if you have to pick 3, then definitely it will have to be one exercise from each of like the fundamentals. So you have cupping, just wrist curling, cupping and fingers. It's a little bit different, but if you have to choose one, you just choose a handle, like let's say like a wrist wrench or a winding handle that can target both. Something that you can target both fingers, wrist curling at the same time. So like a wrist wrench, that would be my number 1 most important exercise, I guess. The other 2, pronation, any type of turning of this, that's actually probably one of the weakest angles that an average person has. You know, if you take like an average Joe, even if they're like a gym goer kind of guy, you go on a table, it's going to be so easy just to curl them in. It's going to be so easy, and it just negates everything. And pronation is relative to cupping, right? You use your pronation to prevent the opponent from cupping you in, and you cup to deny your opponent's pronation. So cupping and pronation, these both go hand in hand. So any kind of pronation lift, whether you want to do it static, whether you want to do it dynamic, doesn't really matter. For me, I'm fond of the Devon Larratt style movement. I've posted a lot of videos of myself doing that Devon Larratt static pronation lift. Great lift to do. And third one, it's gonna be not as important as the other 2, but definitely once you've got the first 2, then you can start to focus a little bit on some kind of side pressure movement. But I usually hesitate to tell beginners to do any sort of heavy side pressure. Yeah. You know, the elbow tendon usually is not very conditioned for most people. But once you start to ease into the game, you've been in arm wrestling a couple of months, you can start to up the weight on side pressure type of movements. You know, whether it's on a handle, you can do it on a handle. If you're like a hook style puller, you can do it with more ulnar kind of thing. If you're a top roller, you can do it like pronation kind of side pressure. So that one you can sort of choose, but you know, just a standard side pressure kind of move, that would be my third exercise.
Thank you, buddy. Let's go with the biggest star, Valen Low.
Yeah. So like 3 of them as just covered is more like the angles of arm wrestling. So if I have to put a gun to my head, I have to pick 3 exercises, some sort of rise, whether it's rising through this part, you're rising through this part, or rising through the pronation, some sort of rise this way. Yep. One of them. And then the second one would be some sort of fingers or cup. So it's either you're doing it static like this, or you're doing it dynamically with a cup. One of this. And side pressure, there's so many ways to do side pressure, right? Whether it's like you're supinating with a belt, you're combining it with a cup, and then you're doing it with a pin pressure. So either of these works. Is just how you implement it to your style. Yeah, so some sort of pin kind of pressure would be nice for arm wrestling itself, because it works so many muscles. The pin pressure works so many muscles, and all these works different muscles as well. So it's more like the angles and how you want to do it.
And talking about this, very rude from me, don't ask you, because obviously you had the super match quite recently. Are you sore? Is everything okay? You're not having any injuries?
Man, the elbow here is giving me issues at the bottom here, especially when I flex it like this, here at the bottom of the elbow near the triceps.
Wow.
That's why I'm gonna go to Mexico for stem cells here. 5 shots.
Hopefully you will not have any problem like unfortunately Engin had in the border, you know? Oh my gosh, that was awful experience.
I'm bringing lots of cash for briberies.
Oh my god. Oh my god, buddy. Anyway, guys, so yeah, let's talk a little bit now, moving forward into the world of arm wrestling, guys, which is very, very, very curious, right? Talking about, for example, you mentioned the height. Very curious how Devon always explains, you know, the ABC, always be climbing, and he, for example, very recently, again with Brian Shaw, YouTube channel and everything, how he works the height through the supination and everything. Very curious, absolutely very curious to see how, I mean, it's like the involvement of the sports, not only about sorry, so I can make myself clear about this. Very curious. That's two things I wanted to say, but it makes sense in Spanish in my head, but when I try to translate it into English, it doesn't. It makes a little bit confused. So very curious. The way, for example, Devon explains how to make the height through a little bit of supination, kicking back with the wrist. Very, very interesting. So you guys really, about this very, very quickly, because I always, for example, in my case, I always thought like it was this, but only I learned recently as well, they say this. But he's explaining. You guys, are you practicing? What is your take about that movement? On how to win the height supination? Is something that you really guys go through it, fighting for the height in that way, or not really?
Valen, Greg?
Yeah, I think for my particular style, not really like going like this. Yeah, because I don't fight for the height so much like this. Maybe it would be more applicable to Devon's more kind of king's move. You can't get a king's move. It's going like this to get the height. Yeah, so it really depends on the style. You can't ask Staugat to do that move. That move is going inside like this. Maybe if you get stuck here, you can rise like this and then go again like this.
Okay, yeah. That was a very quick question about something very curious. But yeah, talking about this, the second part of my Spanish thought, better translated. We are now getting really into, guys, the world of Jurassic Park, let's just say. Eddie Hall had a super match with Brian Shaw. Brian Shaw is getting into this very, very serious, and we see more Titans walking into the sport. Just have a look, guys, into the Titan series of Armwrestling, right? More strongmen walking into the sport. Guys, really, how do you see the sport coming up in the next, let's say, 5 years with all of this going on? Where do you see it, where it's going? And what challenges do you think the sport is facing?
Well, give us the Greg.
All right. Greg?
Go on, Greg.
Okay. Yeah. So
there we go. Okay, yeah. I unmuted myself.
No, it's totally fine, buddy. I know it's the first time. So yeah, to make it very clear, like we see all these guys coming up into the sport. Brian Shaw, Eddie Hall, making the sport super famous. More strongman getting into the sport. So really, with all of this going up, big guys, big names coming, and a lot of fame coming into the sport, and more strongmen into the sport. So now, how do you see the sport how do you see the evolution of the sport in the near future, and what are the challenges you think the sport is going to face?
Yeah, very exciting, with Brian Shaw getting, especially Brian Shaw getting very involved in this sport. I was surprised that at East vs. West 17, I didn't know he was going to be there, but he was as part of the audience as a guest appearance. So he really is invested. I think, maybe 1 year back, people were talking about, when Brian was first coming into the sport, they say he was just, going to do a couple of videos just for the views. He used his brand is usually something like that. He dabbles in a lot of different things, but eventually he just moves away from this. I really think he's going to be quite serious in arm wrestling, and Brian is a big name in the strength world. And if he sticks with this, I think, with Devon already, it was being elevated to a certain level, but with Brian, I think he can really take this to a next level in terms of international sort of recognition, especially from the other strength sports. Definitely going to have a lot of these monsters coming out. But of course, as a lighter weight guy, I'm also very excited for there being more lightweight matches as well. In UFC, for example, it's not always about the huge guys. Some of the best, most famous people are in the welterweight, the lighter weight matches in fight sports. Yeah, so I'm very, very excited for that trickle down effect that's going to happen. But I think you were talking about probably one of the biggest barriers. Biggest barriers is definitely, of course, always going to be getting more sponsors on board. I don't know how Power Slap managed to do that, but if we can do something like that for arm wrestling, it's going to be amazing. Because I sort of understand, I guess, the whole slap fighting thing. It's a spectacle. People like to watch it and laugh at it, and they think it's funny. but it's not really, you talk to the average person, they don't view it as a serious sport. But nowadays, when you talk to people about arm wrestling, more and more people know that it is a serious sport, and I think it should be treated with respect. And with this respect, I think more and more sponsors are going to start to get serious and come on board. But that's going to take time, obviously. But with guys like Brian Shaw, they can use their star power to sort of bring more fans in, and with more fans will come more sponsors. And of course, Mike Ford is going to be going to the Shaw Classic. I think he's planning on it and going to destroy, absolutely destroy everybody there, I think.
Good.
It'll be huge.
I have a little bit of lamb sauce prepared for you, Mike. Of course, Mike.
Yeah.
Because I have to ask you, I mean, you're going to answer this, but also you're going to tell me about the Derek Smith, if that ever is going to happen again or whatsoever is going on. But yeah, carry on.
Oh, yeah, Mike, please carry on about Derek.
Hold on, let me go.
I still want you, Derek. I still want you. Huh? No, so the Derek match got called off for what reasons? Nothing to do with Derek. Nothing to do with Derek. Nothing to do with me. It was more from the management side. There was some issues. I won't dive into it, but unfortunately, that was then called off. But Derek, if you're watching, still want you, buddy. Still want you. And like Greg said, I've signed up for the Shaw Classic, so I guess it's out there now. Yeah.
Sorry, I had to out you, man.
Yeah.
Right.
So what was sorry, I think I've got off topic. What was the question?
So yeah, we were talking about all these guys.
Think about Derek Smith too much.
Yeah. No, it's like it's one of the questions I had prepared before for whenever, but it's like, okay, yeah, I need to bring this topic before I forget it. But anyway, I'm gonna cross it now. Derek Smith, touch, boom, done. So yeah, we were talking about with all these big names coming in the sport, as very well Greg pointed, So how you see all this influence of big names? Brian Shaw, the guy who's putting the wrestling into another level, and so that way, like how you see the sport, and also what challenges you think the arm wrestling now is facing.
Obviously, it's good. The more big names we have from other strength sports coming in, it's obviously good for the sport. More eyes on the sport, it just makes sense, right? And if anyone knocks it, and I've seen comments like, "Why are these guys getting into it? It was just for a payday." Just get out of here, man. If you're really complaining about that, then don't even bother watching. It just really pisses me off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because everyone's just trying their best, everyone's doing their part to grow the sport, right? Greg's doing his part in Southeast Asia, Valen's doing his part. I'm doing my part. We're just like we're little tiny fish in this giant pond. And so that's one gripe I have with some people. That is a problem, I would say, in the arm wrestling community. People love to nitpick over just such petty things, it's just even like
why Brian like why Brian Shaw and Eddie Hall were the main event at the King of the Table with the arm wrestlers. Exactly.
Maybe because they're more famous than a lot of the arm wrestlers. They're just more well known in general in the strength world than even Levan, for example. You speak to most people, Brian Shaw, Eddie Hall, everyone knows Eddie Hall. He's got a great personality. He's a good salesman. He does funny stuff. He's done a lot of collaborations. Everyone knows Eddie Hall. But even here in little Borneo, right, in the north end of Borneo, everyone I speak to knows about Eddie Hall. But you try and, if you say one of the top tier arm wrestlers, they're like, who? So it's, of course, it's good for the sport to have them in, and I'm glad that Eddie's having another match with Robert Oberst at the Shaw Classic. You know, so
100%.
it's something positive things. What issues do I see with arm wrestling? I mean, apart from the obvious situation with, you know, with different organizations clashing with each other, and I mean, it's unless that gets sorted out, you know, there's always going to be, well, even if there's always going to be division anyways, right? There's always going to be division no matter what. You know, no one's going to be happy with everything at the same time. You know, so you can't please everyone, but if you can please the majority, then good. So yeah. My 2 cents.
No, and about this before moving on, buddy. In the end, it was a great match and a show, right? Nobody was expecting the level of show that Eddie Hall put on the table that night with Brian, dude. It was amazing.
Eddie moved like a second, third year arm wrestler. He moved bloody well, and for a guy who only had 6-7 weeks of training,
amazing.
In between MMA, you know, the way he dropped down, you know, had this, you know, going on. What?
Punching forward, you know? like I can tell that he's training with Neil, dude. It was amazing, yeah. Oh my God. If Eddie Hall gets serious into this, there's no way Devon can make any mental trick with him. no way. Yeah. Absolutely not.
Well, the English are famous for making fun of themselves as well, right?
Oh,
so it's like you can never, you know, out.
Oh my God!
I don't know, you know, out maneuver them.
Yeah.
I don't even.
Yeah.
Not even the word I'm saying. Yeah.
That moment that Devon was having a conversation with a lady sitting down on the floor, and he went there and he threw a bill like, "Let's give money to this guy." I was here. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that was great though. Yeah. So sorry, Valen, please give us your insights, brother.
I think with Brian Shaw and Eddie Hall coming to the sport is a great thing, fantastic thing, because they got lots of views on their channels and lots of subscribers, a lot of followers. Challenges going ahead for arm wrestling in terms of like the professional and commercial scene would be, how are we going to market and put arm wrestling in the angle into the mass market that many people are willing and will be able to watch arm wrestling. Yeah, because no one wants to see like 5 minutes of Devon just setting up with his opponent. Yeah, so that's why East versus West is also trying to cut down on the setup time. Going into referee's grip, everything is fast, smooth. So in terms of production, it's easier for the general public to watch. So I think things are going the right way with a lot of promotions coming up as well. Yeah, the challenge would be how we're gonna mass market it into someone or into the area that people don't watch arm wrestling, but they will be able and to pick up arm wrestling. That's the difficult part.
This is sorry. No? Oh, yeah, okay. This is very interesting topic, right? And linking it with what Greg said earlier on about comparing it with Power Slap is, well, I mean, I don't think many people really watches, many people, you know, the full matches or whatever is called, you know, the Power Slaps. They consume mostly reels, like, yeah, boom, done, you know. And we are in a world nowadays, like people, well, has the level of attention of a goldfish, you know. So it's like they need something quick, something they can catch them, something like that, you know. Because that's the difference. You cannot really more or less watch a full fight of a Power Slap and be surprised and not care if someone is getting offended about this, but sorry, it's my opinion, it's what it is, I don't care. But in comparison to arm wrestling, that beauty, the complexity that it has, is something that how we can make this big and export it to people. Like, can we use maybe source some way, like any of the content creators are doing? Because really, export, for example, into a very funny or very cool eye-looking reel. Let's just say the super match of John Brasane and Leonidas Arcona in a reel is impossible, right? And that is the beauty of our sport. That something like that, like Power Slap, it doesn't have it. So how are we gonna make it big? Absolutely no clue. We'll have to find out, right? All of us, we're making our big things, from the small content creators to the big guys from the EvsW organization or whoever. Really, how we can make it big look and make it into the next level. That's a very, very interesting topic, though.
Yeah, the thing with slap is it's got the shock factor, right?
Yeah.
So that's just what it is, right? It's a dude slapping another dude as hard as they can.
Yeah.
And for people, that's just like, you know, it is entertaining to a certain extent, but it's the shock factor, like what? They allow this on TV, they allow this on Facebook, etc., YouTube. And like Valen said, you know, it's no one wants to, you know, if you try and you show a reel, right? And then the first thing that pops up is a guy halfway slow-mo, whack. You see this guy's, you know, face like a wave going up, you know, and then you try and put a reel coming next of a, you know, two guys in the setup like this. And the rest shoulder, you know, it's just not gonna happen.
Yeah.
You know, you're not gonna catch the attention. So I think more reels. I think more. If you're gonna do reels in terms of marketing, like on Instagram, people will have to do a lot more. Arm wrestling doesn't really have the shock factor. I think you would need more of the like you would need to hook them in terms of maybe on the ready go, if there's like a quick flash pin, you know, it starts very split second very fast, and then you slow it down to slow-mo, make it look quite cinematic, and then people go, oh, this is quite interesting. But yeah, it's that's the only way I can, like, post-production, that's the only way I see it. The best way to gain new viewers is to have exciting social media reels, but that's just all done through editing. So if everyone can start doing more of those, that'd be good, because I have just started doing it.
Fair enough.
And it ended up being one of my most viewed videos. So
fair enough. Yeah. That's cool, guys. All right, guys. So let's make it very, very easy now. And really, Valen, now after your experience, EvsW 17, under Noffz, do you have any future goals in mind? Things you want to achieve? What's the next?
I think
you have
the next 6 to 8 months will probably be just rehabbing the elbow first, getting stronger, and not eat so much, not eat 1 kilo of rice per day to gain up to the next weight class. So probably we'll go back down to the 70 kilo weight class, and compete in the next East versus West when I'm getting caught up. And at the same time, of course, do some promotions here and there in Singapore with Greg and the rest of the guys here.
Do you have any name in mind, any target you would like to aim?
It depends where the East versus West is being held at, and who Engin and the team is going to give me. At the moment, no names. But of course, all of us would like to pull some sort of Europeans, especially Eastern Europeans. So let's see.
What about you, Greg? Do you have any goals right now? I mean, you are not in the East versus West, man, but you are there. You very point before. You are a competitor as well. You are coaching. You are doing amazing work as a content creator. Dude, tell us about it. What are your goals now?
Yeah, because I'm doing so many things, it's hard to say what my main goal is right now. Yeah. But after going to East vs West 17, you know, seeing the level that Valen is at, and also competing at the Arlington tournament, it's really been very inspiring to me. And it's really motivated me to want to start competing a little bit more hardcore again. The past year, I didn't really compete that much. I was more of, I was a little bit injured and just trying to, you know, rehab all the injuries, do more content creation instead. But now after seeing this, and knowing that the Southeast Asia level is actually pretty close to the rest of the world, very, very excited to focus on training again, get my level a little bit higher. For my weight, I'm a little bit heavier than Valen. Usually, I'm about between 83 to 85 kilos. I'm hoping to be able to compete at WAF Worlds this year at 80 kilos and see where I am. At the East versus West Arlington tournament, I pulled with Christo Delijakov from Bulgaria, and he told me he felt that I was pretty close to him, and from a WAF guy, guy that has won WAF World Championships before, has gotten medals at Europeans before. Hearing him say that is very, very motivating. And I also want to bring that motivation to the rest of the region as well. If someone like me, just an average guy, can train to reach somewhere close to that level, I'm sure there are way more talented people than me in the arm wrestling circle around here that can push themselves to the next level. And hopefully that's what I'm going to be doing, using myself as an example to try and motivate more people to go and compete, to chase that higher level.
Greg, can I add something?
Yes, please.
I think that's the issue with the Southeast Asian is because many of them are just competing in their local 1,000 ringgit competitions. So it's very important that we keep up the motivation and inspiration for them, to motivate them to try to compete further. That's a super important point as well.
Yeah, a lot of talented people in the region. It's just that they don't go out and compete, whether it's because they're, not confident enough or, whatever other reasons. We really have to have more people competing overseas.
In a very humble way as well. It's one of the things that is moving me as well. And some of the cool things I have absolutely no clue what is going to happen to me in 1 year time, what I mean? Or where am I going with these projects in terms of social media, YouTube and everything. But I know for a fact that I am an arm wrestler. And I know for a fact that trying to help someone else and do something positive, like you very well said, like trying to be some sort of inspiration. Not saying this from a point of view of my ego, but it's like, look, I was fat, I lost such and such amount of weight. My level was nothing in wrestler, now I am way better. So it's like to show a little bit to someone who's watching and say you can really improve, you can really do something very cool. Just grab a path, follow it, train, keep pushing forward. That's very inspirational. It's like there was a guy who left when I had a podcast, very, very good podcast with Lawrence Charlie, one of the greatest or most successful British strongman in history. He has beaten everyone, Siruna Savikas, Thor, Eddie, all of them in competition. And we discussed about the topic of depression and everything, how life's going on, how sports helps us. And there was a guy who left me a comment saying that he was very deeply depressed and how wrestling was keeping him alive. So as someone that has been running through depressions myself, it's not a problem to say it, I know how hard is that, and I took it seriously. So it's like, wow, someone is watching this, someone in that position and feeling that low, and it's like, and I text him, dude, keep going forward. So it's like really trying to do something really positive, inspirational, that is something that really as well keeps me motivated. And because, as mentioned, I am an arm wrestler and I want to keep pushing forward, keeping improving, keeping going forward, making connections and everything. So yeah, I totally got you. I am on the same boat. Yeah. And you, when are you going to beat Derek, Mike?
Here we go.
No, seriously, yeah, tell us, my friend, future goals and everything going on. Stir up the pot, brother.
I got nationals in July. Then I've signed up for the Shaw Classic just to secure my spot. Whether I end up going, I'm not too sure. We'll see how the situation is. But the most important thing is that I've secured the spot. But I do want to go. And then because I won the Arnold's, I'm owed a spot at the next Knuckles Up main card. So that's
yeah.
but obviously the goal is East West. Obviously.
Yeah, of course,
of
man.
course.
You know what? Something that I would like to see, and you can call me Mother Fluffler. I would like to see you pulling with Mindaugas. When the right moment comes, I would love to see you pulling with Mindaugas.
I agree.
Mindaugas Dulskas.
Yeah, I know. No, I agree. I'd like to pull Mindaugas Dulskas. Yeah. Yeah, I felt that power last year.
My gosh.
He's a strong boy. He's a big, strong boy. No, all respect to Mindaugas. It would be an honor to pull Mr. Dulskas. So
I think
100%.
Yeah, I think now it could be as well very interesting for you to meet up and grip with Lawrence. Lawrence is coming serious into the sport. He says that he's taking it easy and his own, but I think that deep inside of him, he's having a fire not sharing with anyone. It's like,
I was really hoping that he would be at the Swindon Crusaders sparring session, because I have been watching and I've known of Lawrence since I was 15, 16, it's so a long time. I've known about Lawrence a long time. I was one of my childhood heroes. So please pass on my regards to him. He's
absolutely. I see him this afternoon most likely, buddy. And I'm sorry, but I'm training with both of them. Yeah, man, absolutely. I'll send you them regards. Absolutely, buddy. So
thank you.
Really, guys, I think we've been slightly more than an hour. We had a very nice and very cool chat today. Just a very keen way of introducing to each other, discussing a little bit the general situation of arm wrestling. And I don't really want to take more of your time, guys, because I know that it's late there, and we all have a life in the end, guys. But definitely in future, I would love to repeat experience with you, bringing up some more on the top and sauce topic. I would love that. We all love drama, don't we? So really, guys, before we close, I have to extend my gratitude to Mike for being such a cool guy and happy to reach to both of you guys, because I was really, really keen on having this conversation with you and sharing some time.
No problem.
And before we call it off, I would like to perform a tradition that I start with the great Mindaugas Dulskas, the honor lift. And I'm just going to perform here for you guys on my table. Because as my table and so on, a lift, just literally a lift for you on your honor, guys. So it's 4 of you, so it's 4 lifts. It's not a max repetition, of course, but I'm a traditional.
Thanks,
man. Next time I'm gonna wear my Devon green hoodie.
Not a mankini.
Wait, baby.
Huh?
Not a mankini.
No, mankini. Oh yeah, as well.
The Borat one.
Right. So open it.
Oh yeah, that's so easy.
Of course.
It looks like he doesn't even have any weight on.
Well, we're being cheated.
Look at the palm, brother. Look at the palm. Look at the muscle coming up. Oh my gosh, I'm so pumped that I'm going to beat the all of you guys next time, 100%. Anyway, especially you, Mike. Especially you guys. So guys, thank you for coming up. Really, it's been a pleasure. We keep in touch, guys. If you're watching this place, of course, give me a like. Watch the video description. I'm gonna leave tons of shares of links of these gentlemen so you can follow them on social media. And as well, give a like, subscribe, and we keep in touch. Guys, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you. Great.